Welcome to another live edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline in the Bpcf studio. Thanks for watching us. We appreciate you. We're going to try to entertain you during this COVID lockdown again and again and again. So pray for your health and safety. Please stay safe and be kind to others. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. We got Chip Hayner, Smoking Jim Frazier, and plenty of sports to talk about. I got some specials to show here, some promos. Let me start with this. All right, I'll hit that tape that Anthony put up here for me. Olive Oil's Pizzeria, Hillcrest Shopping Center, 412-831-1900. Great Italian food. We normally have an XL pizza and a steak hoagie. Because of the timing, I come in early, Smoking Jim comes in early, like 2 minutes before the show. Can't split that pizza up and eat it because we couldn't eat it outside. It's a little chilly for me. Smoking Jim doesn't know what temperature, nor does he care. He never gets cold, except for one thing. When you see him close up, he's layered up more than I am, and he's in the studio, so I'm confused. But this is our first promo. Check him out, Olive Oil's Pizzeria. Next up, Bethel Park Historical Society Schoolhouse Arts History Center. Look at how Anthony lined that up. Unbelievable. 2600 South Park Road. Can't miss it. Has that red trolley. For all you youngsters that just know the T, I used to ride that trolley downtown when I'd go to work at Rouse Discount, catch it after school in Dormont. Get shake and bake all the way down there. It was great riding in those trolleys. It was a great experience. They also have a coffee place, Reginald's Coffee, roasted coffee fresh every day. And they have my specialty, loose leaf green teas. I drink that. It's just a great place, great owners. Check them out there. Next up, we end each show with Stay Joey Strong. Joey Faba's Childhood Cancer Foundation was started by his parents after he died at 9 years old because of a dreaded brain cancer called DIPG. They've had events every year. I've even done their 5K 1 mile run at the high school each year, except for last year when I had my kidney transplant. And now we've had the COVID lockdown, so we missed it again. But they've done all kind of events, raised over $100,000 to give the doctors to find a cure for DIPG. So far, no luck, but they keep on sending money to these doctors. So donate $1, donate your time. Just help them out. So thank you. Next up, Dave Cable likes to have a little fun at my expense. Look at that. He put my smiling face on Uncle Sam. I want you for BPTV. Volunteer today, 412-831-3304. Tell them Uncle Al Levine, the Talking Machine, wants you to help out like Anthony on camera, Nick on the control room making us sound good. Look at how Anthony got this little promo. Straightened up perfectly. Look at that. All right, we got one more to show you. Bpcf, the Bethel Park Community Foundation. Go to bpcf.org. We have money for you from $100 to $5,000 for your group or organization in Bethel Park, helping the community of Bethel Park. We've given out over $1 million in 25 years to other organizations and people in Bethel Park doing good and great things. So get an application. I'm a trustee on the board. We'll consider your grant and see what kind of money we can get to you to help out. Next up, I got a test. Our man Anthony here. I'm a little nervous, so I'll try to hold it steady. We'll see how I can do on this. I'm looking here. Oh, sorry, I'll try to calm down. 6103 Library Road, red, white, and blue station owned by Skeets Lewandowski of Skeets Service Station. They work on anything and everything that runs on gas. Like Chip said, you got to have gas in it. Well, they can even give you some gas, but they'll charge you. Put the gas on, bring it there. If it's not running, they'll fix it. Name it, weed whackers, lawnmowers, tractors, trailers, buses, cars, trucks, boats. They work on electronic devices, hedge trimmers, weed whackers. Who knows, even golf carts, they can work on that. They have a forge. They make hooks for Smokin' Jim to hang all those sweetie pictures up. He now has officially 2 bedrooms honoring all these sweeties. And I do not lie. 2 bedrooms. They also have a drive shaft they can make for you. They do all kind of things there, and it's a great place, and it's only 6 miles from the station, so check it out. Next up, we got What's on Your Mind, Smokin' Jim Frazier.
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine, and the
I gave it early. I gave it early.
You got to see Levine.
Your reflexes are good. Toss it, baby.
Oh,
yeah.
High school quarterback option day.
Center, I caught it.
That's a good job. But hey, I'm going to be real quick, Al Levine.
No. You can say as much as you want.
I know we're going to talk about the Steelers later in the show.
You're right.
But I'm going to tell everybody how in the future the Steelers can be a great running team again, and how now the biggest difference between them and the Buffalo Bills was the Buffalo Bills had a go-to receiver, Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs. Big Ben hadn't had a go-to receiver. Back in the day, Ben could close his eyes and find Antonio Brown. He could close his eyes and find Santonio Holmes. He could close his eyes and find Hines Ward. Now when he closes his eyes, all he sees is, Johnson dropping the ball.
What about Ebron?
Or Juju
Ebron.
dancing on the
How about Ebron?
No, look, the Ebron's no go-to.
Oh, okay. But he dropped one or 2.
That's true. But here's, and the coach shot off his mouth again on something like that.
What coach?
Coach Tomlin.
Your buddy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, here's how the Pittsburgh Steelers in the future can run the football. Here's the main reason. Give it to me. Come on. I go back and I always talk about no Russ Grimm, no Mike Munchak, which is important. I hope they get another offensive line coach. But even if they don't, they still got a pretty good offensive line, a little bit past their prime. Here's how you run the football in the National Football League. It's the only way the Pittsburgh Steelers ever going to do it. Let's face it. Big Ben's a Hall of Famer. He's the head coach of the team. He does what he wants. Who's
his offensive coordinator?
Offensive coordinator is his buddy.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that for the fans that maybe tuned in.
Ben runs the team. He runs Tomlin. He runs everybody.
Thank you.
The only how you can get Ben to run the football a little bit more, because he's always going to pass, is you got to prioritize the run. And the only how you do it, you don't draft a running back in the first, second round. If they had TK Dobbins, they still wouldn't run the football. Only way to do it is to pay a veteran running back about $14 or $15 million a year. The Pittsburgh Steelers in the offseason have to go. Now, the top guys you can't get. But Cleveland Browns got 2 running backs, and I think Kareem Hunt, you pay him $14 or $15 million. Now you're prioritizing a run because you put so much money into your salary cap. Ben can hit him. He's a great receiver out of the backfield like Le'Veon Bell, so he can catch 5 or 6 passes from Ben. And then the priority is to get the running game going. You're paying the guy that much money. The emphasis is on the offensive line to get back to blocking. You're always going to be a great passing team. They got all the great weapons at wide receiver. The Pittsburgh Steelers got to go out and get a veteran free agent, paying crazy amount of money so that they can prioritize. And I think the Steelers' window is still next year could be their best year, the next 2 years. And I think to do that, you have to go spend a little bit of money on a great running back.
Hold on, Smokin'.
Prioritize.
I got a couple questions for you. When have you ever heard of the Steelers wanting to spend $14 or $15 million?
They went after Bettis.
How much?
You got to bring up.
How much did they give him?
Same dollars at that time.
Okay.
Same dollars at that time.
Again, as I emphasize, $14, $15 million in today's dollars.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Well, they offered Le'Veon Bell that 3 years ago, and he turned it down for a rap career.
Well, look what it got him. And then look at his skills may have been diminished.
Yeah.
Speaking about diminished skills, I've been watching DeCastro and I've been watching Pouncey.
Yeah.
They don't get outside when they pull like they used to.
Right.
DeCastro looks like he lost 3 steps.
Yeah.
Pouncey looks like he lost a step.
Yeah.
I don't know how they cure that except the block and get down for the run blocking.
Yeah.
I think they can change that way whether they got a coach or not.
Yeah.
Just say you're running the ball the first 3 plays of the game and see what happens.
But they couldn't do that now because it's so late in the season and they have no respect for the running game. You bring in a guy like Kareem Hunt in the offseason.
How are we going to get Kareem Hunt?
Well, his contract got to be up.
I don't think.
His contract got to be up.
I don't know about that.
And
we got to research
and they got
that.
Nick Chubbs, so they can't pay him, top dollar. So he's going to be out there as a free agent. And I think if you pay him more than anybody would ever think of paying him, 14, 15 million, he comes here. And I tell you what, not only is he a great running back, not only he got great size, he's used to playing in the cold because he played in the mid. He played for Toledo, or Akron, one of those same school, and he can catch.
I don't know. We got to look into that.
He was an All-Pro for the Kansas City Chiefs because how well he catches the football and he can block. So Ben, that won't take away from Ben's ability to pass because he can hit him 5, 6, 7 times a game.
Maybe 10. Maybe 10.
And the coaches would re-emphasize the running game in practice to get those guys because you got Kareem Hunt. So you give him 15 carries a game, and then you still got corners or somebody like that to spell him if he gets a little bit tired or the dreadlocks get heavy. They do get heavy. You know it.
Thank you, Smoking Jim Frazier.
The Big Ten started their season 6 weeks late because they weren't going to play a season, and then they got criticism for not playing a season, and they were hurting the student athletes and blah, 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 blah. So they decided to start a season, and they made a rule. They said to be able to qualify for the Big Ten championship, you have to play a minimum of 6 games. Oh, well, because they didn't put any extra time in there to make up games that got postponed. They were just canceled from the COVID. Oh, the best team in the Big Ten didn't play enough games to qualify for the Big Ten championship.
Who is that team?
The Ohio State Buckeyes.
That's why.
So what do?
Change.
We change the rules because the rich have to continue to get richer. So now all of a sudden the Ohio State Buckeyes, who haven't played enough games to qualify for the championship, will now be able to play for the championship because nobody wanted to watch Indiana play Northwestern for the Big Ten championship. Okay? So be that as it may. Then we got this other ridiculous thing called the college football playoff system, which basically takes people that have won their conference championships as the top 4 teams in the country. So does that mean that now teams that have played a full season, teams that have played 11 games, some teams have played 12 games, are now going to be competing against a team that has 6 games played for the national championship? That is the most ridiculous thing. If you want to give Ohio State the Big Ten championship, that's one thing. You know, the Big Ten needs to get paid like all the rest of the conferences. But to put them in the college football playoff, I think is a travesty, and it's a slap in the face to every team that played an entire season. And I think it shouldn't be allowed to happen, but you know what's going to rule the roost? TV revenue. More people will watch Ohio State instead of watching the University of Arizona or whoever else is the number 5 or number 6 teams. I don't think Ohio State should get in, and that's what's on my mind.
Smoking.
Is, in your opinion, do you think Ohio State is one of the top 4 teams in the country?
I think that question could be answered if they played
Yes.
an entire season.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
No, it's not, because I mean, you play 5 more games, okay? You play 5 more games, there's a chance you could trip and fall, right? Anybody can lose on any given week.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay? So
Even in the NFL.
So you know what I mean? It's hard to evaluate a team after only playing less than half a season. I mean, if that was the case, we'd be crowning champions every October instead of waiting until January, right? It's like, why play the rest of the season? You started off 4-0. Give them a crown. That's like a participation trophy.
That's coming. Thank you, Chip. Thank you. What's on my mind, I got a couple things, but I'll start out with Smoking Jim had hammered into us during COVID and everything that an essential sport is the NFL. Well, I sent an article to my buddies, Chip and Smoking Jim, that I hate to prove him wrong because he likes to entertain you. He says outrageous things that I say they're not truthful. He says he's an honest man. So I don't want to argue, but he said NFL is essential. Viewership in general is down 7%. The group of people between 18 and 49, they didn't even give a percentage, but they said it's more than 7%. So in other words, Smoking Jim went to Gateway. 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. So if I tell him less people are watching the NFL, he'll tell me about, look at all the money they make from it and everybody watches it. They'll even pay on pay-per-view. And he even said, Machine, won't you? I gave him one answer, no. I was proven right. He's wrong. And what they're even doing is, here's what's even crazy. Why would these multi-billion-dollar international companies that own the media cut deals on people advertising with them if everybody was watching the game? They're cutting deals. That means Smoking Jim and one of his ideas could get on there for $10. They'll give them a break because they need to fill, because advertisers are dropping off, that they're saying they're not getting the responses that they wanted. Chip.
Well, to be very honest with you, this is not just something that's unique to the NFL.
No,
the NFL is a victim of this as well. But television ratings were down for the NBA, Major League Baseball, and for the National Hockey League.
Chip, here's what they got. They're streaming other stuff. They're not even watching TV.
Well, and people have found alternatives. And now here, and there's also leads to another point. The NHL wanting to start a season. The NHL is not like Major League Baseball, professional football, and even the NBA. They have lucrative television contracts, and the NHL does not, because it's more of a niche sport, and it's very regionalized. It doesn't travel globally.
Right.
Okay. So
we're prejudiced against Canadians.
So the NHL desperately needs to have fannies in the seats for it to become viable. And the owners took a beating last year. Now, how are they going to be able to move forward with the season this year if they don't have gate-paying revenue?
Without a bubble, too.
So it's interesting to see. I saw another article today. Major League Baseball is considering, and I don't know the validity to this because I saw this on the internet. We know how much you believe things on the internet.
No, he believes everything on the internet.
If it's on the internet, right, it must be true.
He believes everything.
But Major League Baseball is talking about not starting the season until May.
Yeah.
With all due respect to Chip, Alan Levine, the talking machine, was talking about essential sport, and the only essential sport is football.
And now since Smoking Jim brought us back, Chip, I respect that they're all hurting, and we've talked about numerous times before, hockey needs the revenue, just like the NFL owners are talking about they're losing money because they need fans in the stands. Smoking Jim denies it.
Fake news.
But as an example, the Raiders, first season there in Vegas, they gave up $572 million in ticket sales. Do you realize there's a percentage of profit with $572 million? I know you don't believe that stuff, but like if you had $1 and now you have $2.50 to bet, what's more, $1 or $2.50?
$2.50.
Thank you. Gateway taught them that. And that's what I'm telling you. Raiders, $572 million, nothing.
He was helping one of his grandkids with that new math.
No, he was helping a daughter with the tea sales.
Homeschooling.
No.
Homeschooling.
Here's what happened.
I'm happy.
Everybody knows I'm a green tea drinker. His daughter has the best tea available in the country. tells me that all the time. I looked at it, no comment. But that's just another marketing thing, because I looked at some of the ingredients. I don't see green tea in any of those teas. But that's a point I've been holding in for a year now, but it just came out because you said, why don't I try it? But that's another story. When you're not making money in sports, even if you're a billionaire, billionaires squeeze those dollars. That's why they have a lot of them. Smoking Jim should have $50,000 during the corona, because casinos were closed for half of that time.
He's making up
He
for
has,
it.
as of last week, he has a negative $800 in a week. So he lost that amount. So that's what the owners are losing, and that's why baseball, Chip had to add that in, because they are being affected where they're going to delay and cut the games maybe as low as 82 games
and
or
hockey,
something.
Hockey plays in an enclosed arena.
Sure.
Close quarters. At least, baseball and football, they're better set up to distance because they're outdoors.
Right. And football, you're only playing between 5 and 13 seconds of play.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
In a 60-minute game, there's like 8 minutes of activity.
Right. So even though it's an essential sport, like Big Ben's throwing the ball to a receiver who can't catch.
Essentially, of course.
Yeah, and Big Ben throws that ball in less than 2 seconds to a receiver that can't catch. So what are they really doing the work at playing? And the line can't block. To get to another subject, we were all happy with 11-0. We saw cracks in the armor. I said, let's enjoy the wins, because I noticed the last 6 games or so, we weren't running like everybody else thought. Then I looked at the runs we did have, and I kept saying to my son, because we're alone watching the game each time, I go, did anybody block for this run? Because they were in the backfield. Then I'd see another run, they get hit for a loss. I go, now I know nobody blocked on that one. Then they run for a yard. How did you get just a yard? Nobody's blocking. And what they're blocking, they don't have to hold a block. I played the line.
I know what Jim's answer to that is.
What?
Hire back Coach Munchak. Yes. But the problem with that being, look at what the Denver Broncos are doing. They're not running the ball either. Maybe it wasn't Coach Munchak.
Well, that gets to a pet peeve of mine, that we always blame coaches. We blame coaches and we blame quarterbacks. But who's doing the blocking? Like, I was on the line, I was a center, getting hit by guys, hitting other guys, but I tried to block on every play. I don't see that on our team. And I'm not being critical because we're losing. I'm being critical because we got 3 more games, and I'd like to see us win 1 out of the 3.
Yeah, we'll beat Cincinnati. They got a backup.
Hold it, let me hear.
Heavy money on the Steelers.
Since he got a backup quarterback, we're good at beating backup quarterbacks.
Okay. You heard it there. We're going to come back with some fiction and fact.
We're good at 2 things, beating backup quarterbacks and Baker Mayfield.
Okay. Excellent. We'll save that for Steeler talk at the end. Fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac. Nick, hit that commercial.
Al Levine, the talking machine.
Yeah.
I tell you what, we're going back to 2010. This is when it all started. The curse of Santonio Holmes.
What?
I spoke about it earlier. The Pittsburgh Steelers' biggest problem right now is they don't have a go-to receiver. Santonio Holmes was their go-to receiver. They went to the Super Bowl the year after they got rid of Santonio Holmes. Didn't have a go-to receiver. Hines Ward was over the hill by then, and Antonio Brown and Emmanuel Sanders was only rookies at the time, and there was 2 dogs and 1 bone.
And there was Mike Wallace, the one-trick pony.
Yeah, Mike Wallace, the one-trick pony. Exactly. So that's the whole thing.
Sanders couldn't catch, though, back then.
Well, the whole
Until he
thing,
got traded.
Yeah, good point.
Until he got to work for
But
Peyton.
the whole thing is, your go-to receiver was on that team,
Okay.
Antonio Brown, but he was only a rookie. Santonio Holmes was your go-to guy. They stabbed him in the back and got rid of him for something he never even did.
Well, they
Shake
stabbed,
and
what they
bake.
do, stabbed him in the back with a blunt.
Yeah, stabbed him in the back.
I'm still confused about shake and bake.
Shake and bake. Is that worse than
Awake and
worse
bake.
than
No.
Juju?
I do some cooking. I do some cooking. And I always heard shake and bake is you put the breaded ingredients with chicken.
No, yeah, but wake and bake is a different thing.
Yeah, that's why I brought shake and bake, because that's the only thing I know, but I needed you to explain wake and bake.
Everybody wakes and bakes now. 90% of the society wakes and bakes.
I don't.
I only
legal.
know about it
It's
because of what
legal
people
now.
told me.
He was on social media, but I told you before, the Pittsburgh Steelers won. There's a curse from Santonio Holmes, so they'll never win a Super Bowl. 2, you'll never win a Super Bowl with Juju. Is that any worse than Juju before every game disrespecting the opposing team's logo? And you guys know, I don't like all that dancing, and you guys don't like it either, but you don't criticize it because it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's what's on my mind. They ain't had to go to
Oh, did I got to rebut some of this stuff?
The only reason I don't criticize it because I don't pay any attention to it.
Okay.
And I don't criticize it because I believe in Myron Cope, and he put the curse on anybody if they desecrate the terrible towel. Nobody else has the terrible towel, so none of that means anything to me.
Well, the Steelers stole it off the Miami Dolphins, who had the white hankies. That's where they got it from.
Well, if you go back in history, people wore suits, and the men all had a hanky in their pocket. So the Miami Dolphins stole it from the fans in the stands.
No, they didn't wave it. They didn't have.
They did when they were blowing their nose. How do you know? Prove it.
Again, the Pittsburgh Steelers gets credit for something they had nothing to do with. They copied off the greatest team of all time, the 72 Dolphins.
My man, how are you a history guy when you don't read a book? Myron Cope created this out of thin air. Whether he saw it from the Dolphins, that's your speculation.
Yeah, you're right.
Whether he saw it or not. Oh, thank you. That helps me, but you're wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah, and he changed the name and made it gold. You're right.
Smoking Jim, I don't understand the logic. White hanky, black and gold towel. Explain that to me again. Next.
It's almost like doing the wave. Who started that? You going to say Pittsburgh started the wave?
No, I'm saying Hawaii started the wave because they surfed on the waves.
Trying to make. You're saying that you don't like Juju disrespecting the opposing team's logo.
No, I didn't say.
With you.
No, I didn't say that.
Huh?
I said the only thing I believe is the curse if somebody disrespects the terrible towel. I didn't change my words or anything.
You're going to be like Mr. Butterworth. You flip-flopping here.
Nick, pull that tape back up right now before the show's over. I said the only guy I respect is Myron Cope saying, if you disrespect the terrible towel, it'll put a curse on you. And it worked.
And if you disrespect the idea we got from the Miami Dolphins that had
we never got it from them.
The hankies.
Because Myron Cope grew up with my dad in the Upper Hill District. They wouldn't have even thought to look at Miami for an idea. They would have looked in Pittsburgh.
And Myron Cope was like your dad, got the heck out of the hill. That was a smart move.
He moved to Upper St. Clair.
You wasn't even out of diapers. He got off the hill, brother.
I was born in the hill. Come on.
Yeah.
All right, enough of this. We got a show to do. Chip Hayner, let's go to his. Come on.
And I just wanted, Jim went and got into the Wayback Machine, and he went all the way back to 2010 when San Antonio's Holmes smoked his way out of town. Okay? I'm going to go a bit further back in the Wayback Machine. I'm going to go so far back that my dear friend Jim was just a tadpole in the pond of life.
Whoa.
Okay? All the way back to the summer of 1968.
Wow.
1968. Do you remember what you was doing back then, Jim?
My last year of Little League.
That was my first year of Little League. Okay, so what I was going to talk about, and anybody that's followed me on Facebook sees all the various things I post about complete game pitchers and the number of pitches thrown in a game.
Hitting.
Well, the 1968 Major League Baseball season was contested from April 10th to October 10th, 1968. It was the last year of baseball's pre-playoffs era. Were you aware of this, Jim?
No.
Okay.
He
In
never
which the
followed
teams
baseball.
that finished in first place in each league went directly to the World Series to face each other for the World Championship. A playoff system was developed and debuted in 1969 with the addition of 4 expansion teams. Both leagues were divided into 2 6-team divisions, with the winners competing in a league championship series. It featured the most dominant pitching year of the modern era and the first season of the Oakland Athletics, having moved from Kansas City after the 1967 season.
I never knew that.
Okay, so there were a
surprise.
number of teams that played in the 1968 season. There's 20 Major League Baseball teams. The top draft pick that year was somebody that ultimately ended up playing for the Pirates a decade or more later. Tim Foley was picked by the New York Mets. The regular season MVPs of that year were both pitchers. Denny McLain for the Detroit Tigers
Yeah.
and Bob Gibson from the St. Louis Cardinals.
Tell them about the 31 wins that Denny
we'll,
had.
we'll get there. We'll get there. The American League champions were the Detroit Tigers. The runners-up were the Orioles. The National League champions were the St. Louis Cardinals. The runners-up were the San Francisco Giants. The world champions that year were the Detroit Tigers. The runners-up were the St. Louis Cardinals. And the World Series MVP was Mickey Lolich, left-handed pitcher for the Detroit Tigers.
You'd have liked him. He was a big guy, not in shape.
In Major League Baseball, the trend throughout the 60s was the increased pitching dominance caused by enforcing a larger strike zone from the top of the armpit to the bottom of the knee beginning in 1963. The delicate balance of power between offense and defense reached its greatest tilt in favor of the pitcher in 1968. During what later became known as the Year of the Pitcher, Bob Gibson set a modern earned run average record of 1.12 and a World Series record of 17 strikeouts in Game 1. While series opponent Denny McLain of the Detroit Tigers won 31 regular season games. The only player to reach the 30-win milestone since Dizzy Dean did it in 1934. Wow. Don Drysdale of the Dodgers pitched 6 consecutive shutout games in May and June, ending with 58 and 3/8 scoreless innings. Mickey Lolich won 3 complete games in the World Series, the last player as of today to do so. Louis Tiant of the Cleveland baseball team had the American League's lowest ERA at 1.60 and allowed a batting average of only 168, a major league record since broken by Pedro Martinez in 2000. Both MVPs that year were pitchers. 339 shutouts were recorded in 1,619 regular season games. The Cardinals alone pitched 30 shutouts, the most in the majors. The 472 runs they allowed remains the lowest total ever recorded by any major league team in a 162-game season. Hitting was anemic. Carl Yastrzemski of the Boston Red Sox had the lowest batting average of any league champion when his .301 batting average was good enough for the American League batting title. The American League's collective slugging average of .339 remains the lowest since 1915, when the game was still in the so-called dead ball era. While the collective batting average of .230 is the all-time lowest, the Chicago White Sox scored only 463 runs during the regular season and were shut out a league-high 23 times. But these totals are still all-time records in the era of the 162-game season. After the season, the Rules Committee, seeking to restore balance, restored the pre-1963 strike zone and lowered the height of the pitching mound from 15 inches to 10 inches. 4 expansion teams joined the majors, and batting averages in 1969 returned to their historical averages. Never again would pitching have as large a statistical average over the batting in the major leagues. The rookie minimum salary in 1967 was $7,000. It was increased to $10,000 in 1968. So 1968 was quite an amazing year. I remember that year very well. And, you know, as a young baseball fan at that point in my life, I fell in love with the Detroit Tigers that summer, you know, and that was one thing that was great about baseball, was that every summer, you know, you always rooted for the Pirates. But once the Pirates were out of it, you know, you fell in love with somebody else. In 1969, I was a huge fan of the Amazing Mets. You know, you remember them, right? You know,
He didn't know about him until a few years ago.
Yeah, and you know, and so you know, I mean, and so on and so forth.
Al Kaline, that's all I got to share with you.
Al Kaline, Bill Freehan. You know, you know, and you think about it. Denny McLain won 31 games. That was back in the era there were 4-man pitching rotations.
Yeah.
So you had more opportunities to pitch. But if you think about that, you know, he was pitching. He probably pitched 40-some games, and he won 31 of them. 31. That's amazing. Nowadays, in the era of the 5-man rotations, a pitcher's lucky if he gets 32 starts in a season, and you know, and they consider a good start anymore 5 innings, and I just find that absolutely amazing that we're seeing in the past that one pitcher had more complete games in one season than the entire major leagues have in a season now.
He won 31 games, and the Pirates only won 19. But let me ask you this. Was the expansion team one of them Montreal in '69? Who was the expansion team?
The expansion teams at that time.
You guys know baseball.
Would have been the Seattle Pilots moved over to become the Brewers.
Right.
There was the
That ain't expansion.
Yeah, the Expos would have been one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. See. Figured that.
Yeah, because '69, yes.
Yeah.
They were up there in Montreal.
We'll look it up. But where's the strike zone? Where's the strike zone?
The strike
There it
zone.
is.
The strike zone.
This is it. Put it on camera.
Jim,
Here's the strike zone.
The strike zone was from your chest to the tops of your knees.
Okay.
That's
What
about
they
this.
did was they made the strike zone bigger. They made it from the top of the bottom of your armpit down to the bottom of your knees.
And then they went
So
back.
they went back to
What
top
it
of the
was.
knees to your chest. Now that's the reason why the degenerate gambler, what was his name?
Rose.
The greatest player of all time.
Pete
He'll
Rose.
never get in the Hall of Fame.
Pete Rose, when he would bat, he crouched
crouched.
down so that his strike zone shrunk. Okay,
That's
which
smart.
made him.
Smart.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
He hit more singles doing that.
but
Singles.
I think me, Anthony, and Nick would agree
No.
that it's high time for the computers to now judge
no.
strikes and balls. It's about time. Ain't no human can do that.
Okay, now you know what? If
Anthony's shaking his head, and I
We
hear
got
Nick.
3-2. We got
Okay.
3-2.
No, I hear Nick shaking his head right now.
Jim, if you
And I'm
want to
shaking my head.
play Xbox, then you stay at home and play Xbox.
I want
Baseball,
to get it right.
baseball is a game that is played by human beings, and human beings are flawed. Okay, get over it. It's reality.
But computers is the way to go, wouldn't you think?
No, I do
They
not.
get it right. They
I
get it
absolutely
right.
no. They don't get it right. How much do they get right on video replay? Are they wrong as often as they're right? The
Yes.
answer to that question is yes. So, video replay computers do not get it right. So I don't want to waste my time with it.
Me, Anthony, and Nick, we're from the same era. We're the computer era, man.
What do you mean? You're my age.
Disclaimer.
You're my age.
Disclaimer. Smoking Jim's reaching. He lost me and Chip, so he can't put us in here. Now he's trying to take on 2 guys that don't have a voice in this. They're both shaking their heads.
Hey, everybody.
I can see it and hear it.
He and I are the same age. Okay? Don't be mistaken. He and I are the same age.
I like that. I wanted to share one more thing, a little tidbit about me. It was the year of the pitcher for me. It was my first year pitching, and I was 7-0-1. And I had 2 no-hitters that year. I averaged 2 strikeouts per inning for the whole year. Just to share a little
And if
stat.
Jim would have been playing, you would have averaged 4.
It would have been good. But they'd have meetings. I had friends that go, my dad called a meeting because we want to know how to beat you. And he goes, we were talking about how you pitch and all that. I go ahead, have all the meetings you want. I was just in a zone. It was so great to pitch that year. When you talk about year of the pitcher, Chip knows what it's like. He was a pitcher, but I had to share that. So the year of the pitcher extended to Green Tree Little League right near Aiken School on Green Tree Road. That's where I played. The field is still there.
I was just about undefeated every year pitching.
Now, again, for all you fans of Smoking Jim, all of you people that have played sports, you know at least one player on your team. And everybody I know that played, anybody that played on a team, because sometimes their dad was their coach, so they'd tell you that, or they would know their head coach.
I was the only black kid on the team.
Again, as I say, tell me one player and one coach, first and last name.
We had an Anthony on the team. We had a Nick on the team. We had a John on the team. I didn't know the last name. It's hard to pronounce them big names.
How about some of them were Smith?
Some of them ended in a vowel.
Some of them were
If they
Smith.
were from Monroe, they were probably Italian.
Right. What if one of them was Smith?
Wasn't no Washington's on that team, I tell you that. I was the only black.
All right. Well, thank you, Smoking Jim, for the nonsense. Chip, thank you for the great sense that you provided there. That was one of my favorite years because I was pitching well and was excited about it. And to see all these great pitchers. Bob Gibson was one of my heroes. Denny McClain, I loved him. Mickey Lolich, if you saw him, he looked like a pear. He was heavy, didn't look like he could throw, and he was lights out. Won 3 games.
They kept blowing the mound for me.
Smoking, you didn't even know what it. He only found out about baseball 9 years ago when we started our show. We're gonna. Thanks to Chip, you can go to me next, Nick. We got to end this nonsense. We're winding down. On location, not much happening. You got another lockdown, so it shut down any possibilities of us going out to Master Zhang Taekwondo or anything like that right now. Check out that show. I'm open for any ideas for 2021. Maybe we'll do Zoom shows or something with people. We'll see what happens. And Smoking Jim today, I went to Aldi's, and there's a nice young man in front of me. He's buying all kind of stuff. He's unloading a cart, and you know me, I got to talk to somebody.
Where's this, Walmart?
Aldi's,
Oh,
ALDI''S, right here on Route 88, right down from Starbucks, right up from Burger King.
Okay.
So I'm right there. He's loading everything on the belt, and I go, "You did a fantastic job. What did your wife say?" He goes, "No, my girlfriend, my fiance, gave me a list, so I'm just trying to get it all." I go, "You did great." So we're talking back and forth, and I saw him outside because I said, "See you later." I had my 10 items, got in, got out, social distance. So I'm out there. He's parked right next to me.
Wow.
So I go, "Hey, it was nice talking to you in there." He goes, "Yeah, not too many people want to talk or say anything to you." I go, "You met the right guy. I'll talk and say anything." And I said, "I do a sports show in the area, and we talk different sports." And he goes, "I do some announcing for Cal U."
Wow.
And I go, "You're kidding." I go, "One of my friends on my show, all he does is talk about Cal U. He was a great athlete till his senior year. He blew out a knee, or he'd have been in the NFL, so he says." So he goes, "Oh, that's great." We ended up talking for 5 minutes. I told him about my kidney transplant. He told me about his girlfriend, his fiance, has some health problems. She has some disease where her brain grows back from her head down her spine where she could die. It has a big, long name, so I can't pronounce it. So I gave him my card. I said, "Email me when we do shows again. I'll have you on as a guest." So there you go. You meet people out there. That's my on location at Aldi's in Bethel Park. We're going to go and talk Steelers on the end right now. Steeler talk. I'm for the Steelers. I have my doubts. It was great to be 11-0. Now we started another streak that Smoking Jim likes. They're 2-0 and losses. So we'll get their expert opinion. Start with Chip Hayner right here.
Well, I always like to look at the glass as being half full instead of the glass is half empty. And that was the worst performance the Steelers have had since Duck Hodges was quarterback.
Great point.
That being said, you know, you want to look for the positives on that. You know, once again, the Steelers' defense only gave up 19 points. Yes, the Steelers lost 26-15.
Right.
Ben threw a pick six. So the Steelers' defense, all of the injuries considered, is still playing very well. T.J. Watt got my vote for Defensive Player of the Year. You know, so, you know, the Steelers have got some people coming back from injury. Joe Hayden will be back again this week. You know, and it'll you know, who knows when Vince Williams will be back. There's been reports of him on social media talking about his experience with the COVID.
Yeah.
He said he's having so much difficulty breathing, it feels like he smoked 8 packs of Newports.
Wow.
So, I mean, now this is a young man who's a professional athlete in the peak of condition. You know, even Myles Garrett, defensive lineman for the Cleveland Browns.
You mean that liar?
He said
liar.
He said that this thing absolutely floored him. You know, so it's, I mean, you know,
He's a beast, too,
that all being
and a
said,
liar.
now the problems with the Steelers are many. I think a lot of the problems you could point directly at the offensive line. I think you know that they're better than the way they have played, and the fact that even the head coach today said that the opponent was more physical than they were. I think you're going to see a little bit of a different Pittsburgh Steelers team on Monday night. I think they're going to come out, and it's a shame that they're going to, I mean, they're going to beat up a stepchild, you know, but I mean, you know, they're going to steamroll the Cincinnati Bengals this week, which will lock up the division title for them for this year. And once they get the division title, now that the undefeated season's up, they need to rest people. I think Ben would definitely respond well to a week's worth of rest.
I say put him in a cast,
well,
let him rest.
It's not so much his knee. It's just that, you know, throwing 60 passes a game, I think the man's arm is just getting a little bit weary. You know, it needs some rest. But what do I know? Jim, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Steelers was doing great until their coach, who's been riding Ben's coattail since he got the job, shot off his mouth. When the coach Tomlin said the team sucked, I think he lost the team. Lost the team again this week when he said they was out physical, you know, this week. Coach Tomlin, why don't you just shut up? Listen, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a bunch of bullies. They're going to bully on Cincinnati. And I agree with you, Chip. Listen, they ought to rename this month like they do February, Black History Month. December is the Steelers' total collapse month. They've been collapsing for the last 4 years.
Last 2 years,
In
especially.
December, this is another total collapse. And I know you agree with me, and I agree with you. They're one and done in the playoffs.
Here's
one and done in the playoffs.
Here's my question to you. When they played the kind of game they played against Baltimore, the coach told the truth about the caliber of play that he saw that night. When he watched the tape from the game yesterday and he said that the other team was more physical, do you believe that the coach should not tell his players the truth?
No, if you got a real coach, if you got Bill Parcells, Vince Lombardi, if you got a Chuck Noll, yeah, you tell it. But if you got a coach that stand there all game long with his arms crossed because he don't want to look at the Jumbotron and be halfway on the field again and almost get run over on the kickoff, yeah, he don't do nothing for the offense.
Jim,
he don't do nothing for the defense. He don't do nothing for the special teams. So keep your mouth shut and give me a few Tomulisms. Give me some Tomulisms.
So why are we talking about things that happened 5 or 6 years ago? They have
He
no.
just said they sucked 2 weeks ago.
No, he just
said they sucked.
2 weeks. Yeah, but
I
no.
got God
When was he
kids watching
standing on
that
the
show.
sideline was 6 years ago? Okay, so why do you even bring that up?
Because now they got a rope on his back so he don't go too far. Coach Tomlin, they pull him back.
Nobody can take what you say seriously because you're
It's
not.
the truth.
According to how you see it. and we've seen this before. They can right the ship. That's all they need to do. They can just play football.
They need to right the ship, and what they need to do is they need to start throwing the deep ball, because they've got players that are capable of catching the deep ball, and the only way to get the safeties back and the linebackers to move back and get all 8 men out of the box is stretch the field.
We know. We're good. No, we know what we got to do. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know we got 28 seconds. I'm good on time. I don't wear a watch because I know time. Just have to emphasize that. 9 years of doing this. So I know I got 19 seconds left now. You got to play football, folks. I played it. We played sports. You know you got to work hard at it. They are professional players. Just play the game. For some reason, Coach Tomlin's the winningest black coach. And on that happy note, stay strong for Joey.